Yeah, good morning, a good kapitel. Amar Toiv, a few days, the opportunity to bring down everything that we sent up on Rosh Hashanah. I'm saying that particularly because I saw it somewhere today in what I was looking at. Maybe in the Yom Yom, we'll see. Okay, we'll start with Hayom Yom, 21, and we'll do 22. Yeah, that's where I saw it in 22. Okay, uh, for those of you or us who say the Atikun on Hashanah Rabbah, we generally say Tilim, but if you're saying a Tikkun of Rosh Hashanah night, so you should know that the Parsha of Brucha, which is Zois HaBrucha, last Parsha in the Torah, is also said only once. In parentheses, he adds that his father, the Rebbe Rashav, instructed certain individuals to say it with Rashi's commentary on Hashanah Rabbah, as one does when we do Shnayim Mikra, two times the pasuk and one time Rashi. But this was not a general instruction. On Erev Simchas Torah, Zois HaBrucha is said twice, and its Targum, its translation, is said once. Before Hallel, this is Negea to the men who are in the room, or if you're blessing the lulav, remove the top two rings from the lulav. These are the ones that you bound before you put the other three minim together. You bound the lulav together by itself with two rings. Remove those and leave the rings that bind the lulav with the adasim and the aravas. Erev Tavshilin, we do make, if we need to. On Hashanah Rabbah, the piece of bread on which one says hamotzi is dipped in honey, right? As we have been doing all through Sukkot. But not on Shmini Atzeres. And this is our minhag. On Shmini Atzeres, we don't dip in honey anymore. Shmini Atzeres in Torah, we're dipping in salt. There are various, even within Lubavitch, I've seen different minhagim, honey and salt, but certainly salt comes onto the table for dipping bread on Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah. And yeah, the vort I mentioned about Rosh Hashanah is in tomorrow's Hayom Yom, which I'll just read briefly. Shmini Atzeres and Rosh Hashanah are parallel. Right? Shmini Atzeres starts tonight, and it's parallel to Rosh Hashanah. In what respect? It has many of the kavanas, the Kabbalistic kavanas are the same, and it affects higher levels of yichud. But in plain and simple, on Rosh Hashanah, there is a mode of elevation. We are doing an avodah from down here below to above. And in Shemini Atzeres, it's a mode of elicitation from above to below. On Rosh Hashanah, man's avodah is with supplication, submission, and intense bitterness. On Shemini Atzeres, the avodah is all with complete joy. And that's where we are going. Lessons in Tanya, page 49. We're going to do 21 and 22 today. As always, when we can't do the next day, we'll do it today. And look at the Amorim, page Kuf Lamed Vav. Okay, the Alter Rebbe told us yesterday that a gathering of 10 people, and I think we thank Rosa, who's not here at the moment, for enlightening us about certain halachic poskim who are ruling, and these are serious poskim, that it doesn't have to be a gathering of men. But on 10 people who gather together, the language is Shechina Shruya. The divine presence rests. And the resting of the divine presence, as he'll explain later, but we've spoken about this in other places, it's resting from above, which means it's the Or HaSoivet, the infinite light, on 10 people. And he told us yesterday that this is Dafka on 10 people. And by the way, an interesting side conversation occurred between Sarah Sandler, who I don't think is here, and myself and Moshe Gamut in Eretz Yisrael, because there's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, another Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, which contradicts this. In Perek 3 of Mishnah of Pirkei Avos, Mishnah 3, it says, Shnayim sheyoshvim v'yesh b'neim, two people who sit, and there is amongst them words of Torah, Shechina shruya b'neihem. And with Moshe's permission, Moshe didn't know if he gives, I asked him permission, I haven't heard yet, I'm going to publish here his oral explanation of these two different viewpoints, which have to do particularly, I won't go into it, with different levels of makif, different levels of revelation of the transcendent light. But sticking with the straight up that's in Tanya, that's where we're coming from yesterday. The 10 people who sit and learn Torah, the Shechina shruya, it rests over them. And with less than that, there is Kabbalah schar. Hashem fixes a reward for them, which he's going to explain now, the difference between the Shechina shruya aleihim, the Shechina resting over them, and the reward that accrues to even one person who learns Torah by him or herself. And that's where we'll start. Now, hefresh shebein hashrosh lekaviyas schar. The difference between the hashroah, the resting over of the Shechina, the difference between that and kaviyas schar, fixing a reward, moving lebanini mada, is known to those who understand the Torah, particularly the inner dimensions of the Torah. Ki kaviyas schar, we'll do it with the second one first. What does it mean? He fixes a reward for even one person who learns Torah. Ushemeir Hashem lenefesh tedirashenu. That's when Hashem shines to the beseeching, the one who's seeking after him, to the soul who seeks after him. Ba'or Toroseh, in the light of his Torah, the Torah that he's learning. Shehi ma'ata levushay. It's as if the light is wrapping him in a garment. Mamish. V'lachei nikrasa Torah or. Therefore, the Torah is called light. Torah or. The Torah is called light. Shenemar oiter erke salma. That he wraps himself in light like a shirt. This is referring to Hashem. He wraps himself in light. What's the light? The light, he wraps himself in the Torah, like kasalma, like a shirt. He gets dressed up, so to speak. And one of the things that you can learn from this particular language about getting dressed up, think about when you get dressed up. The garment that you wear creates a feeling, and different garments create different feeling. So there's a panemius kind of relationship between the garment and yourself. It affects you internally. This is the kaviyas schar, wrapping himself in light. V'nefeshu bailis gavul. Now, for this to say that the soul is wrapped in light, the soul is an entity. Yes, it's rooted way up deeper than any entity. But the soul, when it's manifest as a soul, it's a particular thing. So it's, by definition, it's bounded, like any particular thing. It has gavul v'taklis. It has boundedness and limitation. But kol chosecha, in all of its powers, each of our souls, it has 10 powers, and they're manifest differently in each of our souls. Lochen, since there is this sense of differentiation, Lochen gamor Hashem hameir bo. Therefore, the light of Hashem, which shines in her, in that soul, hu gavuli mitzumsum, it's in a contracted, bounded state. Hu mislabish b'seichai, and it's enclosed b'seicha, and it's enclosed within her. V'alkein, and therefore you spoil lev mevakshei Hashem, and therefore the heart of a person who's seeking Hashem is aroused, because this light is penetrating. This is called the or mamale. It penetrates deeply within you. B'shas tefillah, in the time of davening, ukayetze bor, or other times when you're involved in holy things. Ki ba yismach libam, and with that light, and in your heart, one's heart rejoices. The yagil, and is happy. Avgilas uverina, with a revelation of happiness and song. The hisanug nafshem b'noyim Hashem, and one's soul experiences the delight in the sweetness of Hashem. V'orei, and in His light. The higalusoy v'mata levushay, from its being revealed as this light enwraps your soul. Shehiyah Torah, and this again, what is this light? Torah or, and this is the light of the Torah. The Yezike berach hitzav, and it's it burst forth like an arrow. Vizuhi kaviyascha. That's the definition of the reward. Not a bad reward, right? To have the feeling of the being wrapped with the light of God as one learns Torah. This is just, as we said, even one person gets this kaviyascha. Anybody who is oisik the Torah in any way, this is what's happening. We can train ourselves to feel it, but it's happening. This is the kaviyascha. This is the establishment of the reward of the Torah. Hakavua tamid benefesh amolabah. This is established in the heart of any soul who strives in the Torah. That's kaviyascha. Avol hashra, the indwelling, which we said applies to 10. This is a much stronger light from the light of Hashem, Hamer bo bligvul, which shines to the soul in an unlimited manner, unlimited v'taklis and no boundedness. And it's not able to be enclosed in the soul, right? It doesn't have, this is not an or panimi. The panimi means it comes in and it's absorbed and becomes part of. This is infinite, and the soul, the way we're speaking about not in its source, but as a graded entity, is a limited thing by definition. And this light, this hashra of the Shechina, this indwelling, is not able to penetrate ki'im makif. It hovers. And again, we have to explain or just remind ourselves, hovering does not mean hovering from afar. It penetrates everything, but it's not perceived. It's soivev b'helam. It's encompassing and it's concealed. But it's the most essential light, more essential light than the Or HaMamale, because it's the light which brings everything into being and enlivens everything equally. And that's called makif. It's makif oleha. It surrounds it, as it were, from above. Milamayla, from above. And it surrounds the soul, Meresha bi'ad ragla, from head to toe. As the sages have said, on any gathering of 10 people, the Shechina dwells. Which means it's shruya or shruya. It dwells upon them milamayla, from above. It says the sweetness of Hashem is upon us, not within us, but upon us. And the deed of his hand is gathered upon us. Claim it, which means to say, that the sweetness of Hashem, which appears as a result of the deed of our hands, when we occupy ourselves, oisik again, really work at and give ourselves over to Torah and mitzvahs, where about that it said that the Torah and Hashem are one. Then there is settled and dwelling upon us milamayla, that reality of Hashem and the Torah being one, without any end or limit. And it's not enclosed, it's not dressed, and therefore affecting the innerness of our soul, the sichlenu, and our mind. And therefore we can't grasp this with our seichel. This kind of delight and this kind of sweetness in the sweetness of Hashem, the ziv hashechina, which is a ray of the Shechina. Again, the Shechina, Malchus. Malchus is makif, is the crown. So this is a paradoxical unity of unlimitedness in limitedness. But it's not penetrating into the limitedness the way the reward of the mitzvah is, which is like the garment, which does affect us, how we feel when we wear the garment. This is a all-encompassing light. And this is called Ziv HaShechina, the ray of the Shechina, which is bligvul v'tachlis, without any boundedness or any limitations. Hashem iskainin v'shora, which rests and dwells oleinu upon us, b'masi yedenu, the deed of our hand, the Torah u'mitzvahs berabim dafka. And that's what he emphasizes here. This is when we do Torah and mitzvahs as a group together. And this our sages have said, Schar mitzvah b'hai al malecha. This is what they said in Pirkei Avos that says, the reward of a mitzvah is not in this world. Right? So now we have a little insight there. The reward of a mitzvah is something that's in this world. That's something that can be drawn into world, oilam, which is the language of concealment and limitation. But the reward of the mitzvah, which is this, Shechina Shorya, the indwelling of the Shechina, is not in this world. Because the world, by definition, is limited, and this is Ein Sof, unlimited, and therefore the world can't grasp it. When can the soul grasp this? When the soul spreads out from the body, when, either we're talking here particularly about the passage of the soul from this world to the next world, when the soul is freed from the limitations of the body. And even then, it's only through that the infinite can be grasped by the finite is not a normal thing. These are two opposites. That can happen when the soul is released from a body is al derech chesed, is only through God's kindness. It is written, Hashem chesed, to you Hashem is kindness. This is a great kindness that Hashem does, that he allows us. He creates the ability that we have as even limited things like souls, but souls released from the excessive limitedness, if you will, of the body to experience the out-of-body experience of infinity. Which then this is something which Hashem rewards a person, according to his deeds. As the sages have said, and Hashem gives power to tzaddikim. And here I will editorialize, as I usually do, inject the notion amach kulam tzaddikim. We all have that point of tzaddik within us, and it's that point of tzaddik which can relate to the infinite and have a relationship with the infinite. Hashem has given a great kindness that the neshama, though it's limited, has a point of unlimitedness within it, which we call tzaddik. Malachim don't have souls like this. Angels can't do this. They can't experience this. As I have heard the Alter Rebbe said, it says from my teachers, he heard from his teachers that if one angel were to stand amidst an assembly of 10 Jewish people, together, even if these 10 people are not speaking words of Torah, people alav, there will fall upon that angel a fear, a dread, an awesome experience, because angels can't have this experience. This is an experience of awesomeness, without boundedness, without definition, without limitation. This is an expression, the angel standing outside of the circle. In the circle are 10 Jews who can actually can grab this experience, relate to this experience. And this angel is, as it were, outside the circle being what? The illumination of the Shechina, of the divine presence, the Shroya Alayu, which rests on the 10 Jews. Until such extent, he heard from his teachers that this angel is blown away. That would be the way we translate it. Completely nullified in his existence, the angel, completely. Baal came. Okay, now he gives a shtickle musar to us over here. If that's the case, that 10 people who study Torah, who learn Torah, are able to bring down the Shechina, the infinite, that it should hover and dwell amongst us, down here on planet Earth, here and now. Al Kain, therefore, Ra Be'eni, it's very bad in my eyes. Hamasa Ashen Nasa Tachas Hashemesh, that which goes on literally under the sun, meaning down here that I see with my eyes on planet Earth, amongst us, under the sun, the cloud in general, Ubefrat, And specifically, in other words, it's a bad thing that's happening in general, what he's about to say. But it's even worse when it's happening bein achai v'rohi, amongst our brothers and our friends. Hanegoshim, whose life is dedicated, isn't it, to coming close to Hashem. Hagasha zu tefillah. And what is this coming close to Hashem? This is davening. So we're back to davening, right? We're back to where we were before this piece of the letter, talking about the importance of 10 people davening together. They call ram, with a loud voice. The achar hatefillah, and we see that after they do that, what happens? They go to a minyan, they come out of shul, the achar tefillah, or before they go to shul, nasa moishev leitzim, they become a group of leitzim, scoffers, Rahman al-Islam. Kamesha Amar Azala, as our sages say in Pirkei Avos, chapter 3, Mishnah 2, Shnayim sheyoshvim ve'enim b'neihem divrei Torah, two people who sit together, and they're not speaking words of Torah. So he says, this is a meshav leitzim. It's a company of scoffers. And if 10 people get together like this, and they're just, who knows what, talking Lashon Hora, but not engaged in Torah words, Torah learning, Torah conduct, and become what he calls an election, and what the Mishnah calls a collection of scoffers, and they're together in a group of 10, where what can happen in the group of 10 is the Shechina shori alayu. The Shechina can dwell upon them. So if that's not the case, and the 10 people are together, and that's not the case, so the Mishnah says, the Zohar says, Ein lecha albona bekalma. There is no insult or shame. The Shechina gadol, the Shechina, to the Shechina. There's no more shame that you're giving to the divine presence. Gadol mezeh, greater than this. Rahman al-Islam, the merciful one, should save us from this kind of conduct. V'im omru razal, and if our sages have said, al oived avera b'seisa, one who commits an avera even quietly in private, should doichek ragle hashekina, that committing an avera in private, known only to you and God, of course, but not known to others, they say about that one is doichek ragle hashekina, one pushes away the footsteps, the feet of the Shechina, chas v'shalom. So ha'oiva avera barabim, so one who does any avera barabim, let's here include Lashon Hora, because we're not talking here necessarily about anything that's not aligned with Hashem wants. And anyone doing that barabim in public, this is strong language. He pushes away completely the whole stature of the one who formed creation. Kaviyachol, to say such a thing, if you could say such a thing. Because of Razal, as our sages have said, this is a Zohar. Ein ani v'hu, I and he can't live together in the world. Ela shemelech osa b'rachitim. That's pushing oneself, pushing God literally into rachitim means rachotim or rachitim is gutters. Pushing Hashem into the gutters. The Zohar goes on and says, woe to the one who pushes away the Shechina. Tad yokim like kuchabricho, when it stands up for Kodesh Baruch Hu, the Yemen says, the Hashem, Hisnarimi ofakumi, at the day of judgment, right? Or at the resurrection. I think from the language, this implies to me more the resurrection, when there stands up from the dust and says it stand up. So woe to that person. This time of standing up from the dust, of course, at least radiates a little bit in my head. Look at the sukkah again, and the culmination of sukkahs, because about sukkahs it says, "Yokim sukkahs David Hanafelas," right? He will stand up again. The sukkah of David. The sukkah is the Shechina. The sukkah is the indwelling of the Or HaSoive, which is particularly symbolized by the skach, which is surrounding us. We're living inside a mitzvah, and that's Soive Kol Almen. We're living inside the circle. And at that time, woe to the one who desecrates the Shechina when the time comes where Hisnadim and Ofer Kumi, that everyone will be stood up from the dust. Val Tlat Milin Misachva Yisrael. And the Zohar goes on and says, there are three things which push away, where the Jewish people push away the Shechina, and push the Shechina bigaluta, into Galus. Three things that we do. Al hadadachachin Shechinte. One is doing the behaviors which we just talked about, which pushes away the Shechina. Val da'avdin kalma, the Shechina, and anything which we do which shames the Shechina. And he doesn't mention the third one. And I have to say, I went looking for my Zohar this morning, and I can't find it. There have been a lot of people in the house, and this forum are all mixed up, and I'm wondering myself what the third thing is. He only mentions two. But these things are written or said, in the Holy Zohar. So that's how he ends. With the great insult to the Shechina that we can, God forbid, provoke, and the great emergence of the Shechina that we can provoke through our behaviors, our oisek, the Torah, the Rabbim, and the things that we do, Torah and mitzvahs, especially Torah and mitzvahs. It's not really emphasized here, but it's mentioned here. Any mitzvah that we do with a group. Someone mentioned yesterday, I don't remember, it was inside the class or in the WhatsApp, about bringing people together, for a lot of people together to make challah. And so there's a big power in Asora, in 10. And we have the opportunity to bring that big tower down, which ultimately will enable us to see the elevation of the Sukkot David HaNefeles Begeula Shlema. And that's today in Shmini Atzeres. So, any comments? A lot of people must have slept late today. It's a small group. All right, if no comments, no becheins, no remarks.
I can't wait to find out what the third thing is.
Yeah, I know. I mean, maybe you can probably find it online in English. Make sure I go to Chabad. Okay.
I'll ask my son Levi.
If you find out, or when you find out, post it, okay?
I will. Okay, I'll ask Levi. Yeah.
Thank you very much. A good Yontif.
Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos. Good Yontif.
Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos.